Hi, Jenny. Hi, Reese and Sandy and Miriam. It's good to see you all this morning. Hi, Dad. Hi, McBees. Hey, Jennifer. I can't get this candle to light. Good morning, Bonnie. Can you see it? What if I set it here? Let me grab a book. One more. We'll wait one more minute to give folks a chance to join. Hi, Molly and Ainsley and Zeke. Hi, Kim. I know I say this every week, but I love seeing on the side of my computer who's joining. Makes me feel like we're a little bit more connected. Hi, Eubanks. Well, what I want to talk about this morning is a little bit about epiphany, a little bit about tending to the sacredness of our hearts, and a little bit about vulnerability. The season that we're in right now as a congregation, in our theme of freedom, is the freedom to be vulnerable right now. We thought that that would be appropriate given the fact that this is Holy Week. And yesterday, with the fanfare of Palm Sunday and shouting our hosannas, which means God save us, that we kicked it off robustly this Holy Week. And yet, as we saw in the shift of the service yesterday and in the movement of the scripture lessons, it doesn't necessarily end on this cheery note. And Jesus probably, I would like to imagine, has this inclination that as he's back in Jerusalem and he's ready for the Passover feast that's getting ready to come in a couple of days, that maybe the mood isn't just right. Maybe some folks are on edge and maybe their hackles are out as they are anticipating perhaps what's to come. And so what do you do in the midst of those feelings? There is uncertainty and there is maybe anxiety. I could describe all of the feelings that we're feeling right now during the pandemic, right? Fear and uncertainty and anxiety. And yet, as we wait this week, and as we wait to see what is going to come for Jesus and for the disciples, I imagine too that we are waiting ourselves during this pandemic season and in search of blessing. And so let's talk about blessing and epiphany for a little bit. I am one who loves epiphany. The idea that inspiration can come to you suddenly, and when there is an epiphany, then all makes sense, all is clear, anxiety is put at bay, right? Do you all have epiphanies? Let me know. This could be something that's just particular to those of us who are a little bit like to nerd out on spiritual things, or it could be something I think that in fact happens to all of us, that we are all having epiphanies, whether or not we name them as such. And so I always want an epiphany. I mean, who doesn't, right? I love epiphanies when they come when I'm on the floor playing games with my kids, when I'm out for a jog in the park and the magnificent blooming trees catch my attention and surprise me. I really, really love epiphanies when I'm writing a sermon, because sermon writing is laborious work. And if I can get to the epiphany point of the sermon, the aha, here's what this is all about, here's what I hope that the people of God will receive from this sermon, then I feel like it's done. The problem with jumping from epiphany to epiphany is, what do you do when they don't come? What do you do when it's just a really tough jog in the park that day and it's mundane? What do you do when your kids are home from school and it's another week that we are starting of tough work of being present to them? What do you do when it feels like there is no blessing and we're waiting? And what are we waiting on? I love in scripture when Saul is struck blind as he's walking down the road, and he is converted to this new way of living and believing that Jesus had been talking about and that he had been persecuting. And so then when his conversion is complete, he gets his sight back and his name is Paul. Wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, not to be struck blind necessarily, but to have it all so clearly laid out. And yet that's not always real life for us. Sometimes the epiphanies and the blessings come through the mundane. And so I want to celebrate that with us this morning as we are in the mundane of this pandemic, of people getting sick, of people we know worrying about them and hoping that they are well but not having contact with them. What does it mean to have freedom and vulnerability in this season? So I want to be vulnerable for a moment and share a little bit for just a second about when I was in the early stages of recovery from my anorexia. And I had just returned home from residential care. It's been about a year and a half now, which is hard to believe. But I was still sick and I was still hurting and I was still confused. And I was sharing vulnerably with a dear friend, and my friend has a lot of wisdom. And I was lamenting the fact that no epiphany had come. I was saying, I'm not afraid to do what I need to do in order to find health and wellness. I just don't know what that looks like. It feels really dark and twisted right now. And my wise friend said to me, Lauren, what if everything that you need for healing is already inside of you? That it's in your heart. And oh my gosh, that was the epiphany. And yet it was something that I didn't necessarily want to hear, because that means that there's hard work to do of mining the sacred that is within us to the point that it can set us free from our afflictions and our addictions and our incessant longings for relief from the pains of this world. What if what we need for healing is within us and within our heart? When I applied for the job at Highland, Bob Cunningham was on my search committee, and he asked this beautiful question. Lauren, tell us about a dark night of the soul experience. And I won't go into how I answered that question in this moment, but I bring it up to say we all have dark nights of the soul. It's part of being human, is to have one. Even Christ has one this week. on this week that we call holy, as he's left and abandoned and his friends betray him and deny him. He lives into a dark night of the soul in the Garden of Gethsemane, which we will read about and acknowledge on our Good Friday Tenebrae service. I want to read for you part of Psalm 22, which is the psalm that Jesus quotes while he's on the cross. Listen to this dark night of the soul. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but find no rest, yet you are holy. Enthroned on the praises of Israel, in you our ancestors trusted. They trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried and were saved, in you they trusted and were not put to shame. Yet it was you who took me from the womb. You kept me safe on my mother's breast. On you I was cast from my birth, and since my mother bore me, you have been my God. So do not be far from me, for trouble is near, and there is no one to help. But you, O Lord, do not be far away. O my help, come quickly to my aid. Deliver my soul from the sword, my life, from the power of the dog. Save me from the mouth of the lion. From the horns of the wild oxen you have rescued me. And I will tell of your name to my siblings. In the midst of the congregation, I will praise you. In the same psalm, where the psalmist says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Just a couple verses later, he says, you have rescued me, and I will sing of your praises to the congregation. What do we make of that? Not that the person is insincere, right? Everything but. And so one of the points that I go to is that God is as close as our breath, actually never leaving or forsaking us, but living within and around us, within our hearts. I have another friend who is a beautiful poet and author, and she lives in New York City and has actually moved away from the city during the time of this pandemic. And she shared with me and some other people a beautiful piece of writing that she had done yesterday morning on Palm Sunday in reflection of the pandemic. And what she says is that we're looking for an angel to come and to save us. We're looking for angels all around to let us know that our epiphanies are real, that God is real. And yet we struggle to see them sometimes, because the truth is that the angel is in our heart, within us. And when we can acknowledge that, we have the power of saving angels within us, then we can see that the angels are first responders and nurses and doctors and supermarket clerks and all of those who are acting with kindness and hospitality. Each of you seeking to connect with friends and family and with yourself and with God. Those are the angels. And so God is here with us during this pandemic, continuing to navigate this pandemic with us, continuing to navigate Holy Week with us. And so here's the word that I have for us this morning, and I hope it'll be a good word for you too. As those of you who struggle with addiction and seek healthy coping skills during this pandemic season, God is with you. And those of you who are still working, whether you're in the medical field or some other domain that is seen as emergency services and vital to our life as a society and community, and every day you're putting yourself at risk for the well-being of the common good, God is with you. And for all of us who are living with anxiety, or those of you with depression, and those of you who are in fear, let us all together seek peace and hope and presence, trusting that God is with us. And so no matter what kind of matter of the heart you are looking for this Holy Week, I want to share a blessing with you, because blessings help us to keep breathing. And when we breathe with our breath, we know that God is with us. And so blessings help us to abide in the moment, in the next moment, and the one after that. So this is a book of blessings for times of grief, The Cure for Sorrow by Jan Richardson. And with each of her blessings, she does original art. And so this is her art on the cover. And if you're not familiar with Jan Richardson, your life will be better when you are. We use her a lot actually in worship at Highland. This is called The Blessing for the House of the Heart. If you could see how this blessing shimmers inside you, you would never wonder whether there will be light enough, time enough, room enough for you. If you could see the way this blessing has inscribed itself on every wall of your heart, writing its shining line across every doorway, tracing the edge of every window and table and hall. If you could see this, you would never question where home is or whether it has a welcome for you. This blessing wishes to give you a glimpse. It will not tell you it has been waiting. It will not tell you it has been keeping watch. It would not want you to know just how long it has been holding this quiet vigil just for you. It simply wants you to see what it sees, wants you to know what it knows, how this blessing already blazes in you, illuminating every corner of your broken and beautiful heart. My friends, receive this blessing. And may there be internal healing for us as we seek God in all the places during this Holy Week and this pandemic. May there be healing and warmth, housing and home, epiphany, blessing, health, and safety, for it's all there within you. Blessings upon you. And before I sign off of Facebook Live, I want to let you know by way of a few announcements what this Holy Week is going to look like for us. Hopefully you've already seen this morning, as we'll continue every morning this week on Facebook at 7 a.m. There will be a post that is a psalm and a characteristic of God and an action for you to do. And as you complete that action, we invite you to share those in the comment feed. The action this morning was to see God as steadfast presence, and the mark of steadfast presence, the symbol of that is our pets. And so people are posting these delightful pictures of their animals. If you haven't had a chance to do that, please join in community there. And like I said, there will be an opportunity to engage our community each day on Facebook in that way. On Wednesday at 7, there will be a Facebook Live service that Austin will lead us through. Monday, Thursday will be also at 7. There's a refrain here. Each of our services are at 7. Renee and I will be leading the Monday, Thursday service, each from our homes. It's a series of scripture readings, and we will celebrate communion together. So like yesterday for Palm Sunday, get your crackers or your bread and your wine or your juice ready so that we can have communion from our homes. Then on Friday will be our Good Friday Tenebrae service. It's already been recorded, and I don't think you're going to miss any of the passion and the movement and the energy of that service. So tune in there on Facebook or on YouTube. And then finally, our Easter celebration will be Sunday at 10. And you can check the newsletter for all of this information and links as well this week. Friends, go in peace and go in love, and go trusting that your heart is your home and the source of epiphany, because it is God, the divine, the powerful light who lives within us and around us, in whom we have our very being. Much love to each of you. Goodbye.